You're listening to The Watchers, the show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch movies and TV about New Jersey. This season, in this season of our lives, we are watching season 1 of Yellowjackets in light of season 2 while we wait for season 3. I'm Andrea.
And I am Jody. What season of life are you in, Andrea?
I'm in the season of life where I'm watching Yellowjackets and desperately waiting for season 3.
Yes, that's fair. We are on season 1, episode 8, Flight of the Bumblebee. And we are post-wolf attack.
I have a new theory about the wolf attack. Well, it's not I shouldn't say theory. I have a new question.
Mm-hmm.
Remember last week when we realized that the bite out of Tawny's hand was Biscuit?
Yes.
Do we think there's a chance that she is the one who first, because we talked about how strange it is that the wolves are there and how Van specifically says like they won't approach unless blah blah blah, all this stuff. Something that might cause them to approach is like hearing somebody screaming because their teammate is tearing their face apart.
Yikes.
Because she's got the bone around her neck. Like, she had to get close to Van to take it.
I know.
Is there a chance that she did that and then scurried up a tree and it attracted the wolves?
I mean, so the thing that this makes me think of is later in the episode that we're going to talk about, when Ty comes to Shauna's house because she can't sleep, and she says, they're walking down the street, and she says, you know what happens, or like... And,
or like how bad it can get.
How bad it can get. That's what it is. What is how bad it can get? Is it just that she fell asleep and the wolves attacked?
Right. Because that's not. And like what we know from season 2 is that most of Ty's sleepwalking from this point on is just Van leading her around in the is Van like encouraging it so she can follow her around in the woods to follow the symbols.
But if Ty was the one who attacked her, then Van would remember that somehow. I would think.
I
would think. Yeah. That's another step, I think, and that might be a step too far for me, because I think that the fact that Van is following Ty around in the woods, if Ty was the one who attacked her, I feel like there would be something she would remember about that.
Right. Yeah, I guess.
But I did note, like, what is Ty referring to when she says, you know how bad it can get? Like, does something happen later while she's asleep?
Right.
Is it that she was eating Jackie while she was asleep? Is it that the wolves attacked?
Wait, she's the one. Hold on. Now that you say that, I'm doubling down on Van. I was just kind of floating that as a half idea, but she's the first one to Ty, you ate her face, is literally the line.
Yes. That is literally the line.
Like, one of the things our brains do that these women talk about all the time is forget horrifically traumatic stuff. And it would be very easy for the brain if, while Van was sleeping, Ty did something really, physically, emotionally, mentally traumatic. And the next thing that happened is a bunch of wolves attacked.
Interesting.
Like, it would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's all happening in very close proximity to each other. Because last week was the dog bite episode and the wolf sighting. And
they made such a point to, like, Ty having that bone around her neck is like, she had to have been so, like, on top of Van to get that in the first place.
Yeah. You mean Van having it around her neck? Yeah.
Well, Ty having it around her, or in her hand.
She was holding it. Yeah. No, totally. To get that from her, she had to be, like, over her.
Ty,
in a way.
ate her face. Van says that.
She does.
Here's what we know about Ty when she sleepwalks. She goes to the symbol and she eats faces. Those are two things.
She eats dirt.
And she eats dirt. Those are things we know. And
she kills dogs.
And she kills dogs. These are all things we know for sure. So again, I was only like 20% suggesting it, and now I'm like 30% suggesting it.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, the face that she ate was not of a live human.
But she didn't. I mean, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Sleepwalking Ty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not 100% opposed to the theory. I did note that that comment that she made.
Yeah.
About how bad it can get. I was like, what are we talking about specifically?
I think what the show is thinking about because I don't really think she ate her face, though I do really like the idea that she did. But I think you're probably right that what she's talking about is being the first one to eat Jackie, to take a bite out of... Wait, is she?
No, doesn't Shauna take the first bite?
Shauna does.
Yeah, Shauna takes the first
Ty
bite.
is just the one who eats her face. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you can't even say that that's how bad it can get.
No, and I'm wondering if there's other things they have planned. But
Right.
But yeah, that comment really did stick out to me this time.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to do 96 first again, and then 2021. Just for simplicity's sake, especially because a lot of 2021, they're kind of like coming together somewhat.
Yeah, it's hard to... It's really starting to get difficult to break them up by character at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's... I threw us right into that scene with the wolves because the first thing we get is listen, they're not medical professionals, but
you would check for a pulse. Come the fuck on.
I'm right, like, guys.
And this is what makes me think. So, like, maybe it was because Van says something later on. I think about like something happened during the wolf attack. Like maybe she did have like a near-death experience where they checked her pulse and it was not barely there or not there or something. And then she like quote unquote came back because like in order to put someone on a pyre and give them a Viking funeral, that takes a little bit of time. You would think at some point they would have noticed she was breathing.
Yeah, but nope.
Yeah.
It's the fire.
Yeah, I know. Really? Fire?
It's almost like something about the wilderness wants to keep Van alive no matter what, you know?
Yeah. And her friends are not doing a very good job of it.
No, they're not.
They're really failing at every turn to help Van out. I did notice at one point when we see her perspective and she sees the four of them standing over her, there is one quick flash in which I don't know what this means, but she sees them. You see her eyes opening and closing, and then there is a shot of like the tree canopy that goes like this like vibrant green color.
Yeah,
it's like alien green.
Well, do we think? I don't want to read too much into it, but some ways you could read that. Yeah, are like, is that her? Is that like a like kind of heaven sort of like? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it to give us the idea that there is some like alternate timeline stuff happening and we're seeing those two possibilities, like one bleeding?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's obviously a choice here, you know?
Yeah, it's specific. It's very fast. It's not like they don't linger on it at all.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to read more about near-death experiences and see if there's anything there to connect. But yeah, that's basically it. Mari's the one that sees her move and says she's alive, and they pull her off the pyre and put out the fire that has already kind of gotten on her clothes.
She can't catch a break.
She really can't. Her face is horrible.
It's really bad.
I mean, I remembered it being horrible.
Yeah.
But
that's
I do remember.
Big reason I don't actually think it's Ty. Like, Ty would have blood all over.
She does have a lot of blood on her.
Wait, Ty does?
Yeah.
When she's in the tree?
But no, not in the tree. You're right. When she's on the ground. But that's because she's like hacked a wolf to death.
Right.
We're assuming. Yeah, I don't think she has blood on her in the tree.
I don't remember seeing blood. I also don't know that we see enough of her to actually know for sure in that scene.
Right.
But she would probably have blood all over her face if that's...
I would think.
Man, it would be cool to find out that she did that, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, then we get the intro. And then Laura Lee at church camp. This is our farewell to live Laura Lee.
They the church camp flashback is so silly.
It's so
like
funny.
Sillier than I remember.
Yeah.
Like everything's
exactly
bathed in this like golden glow. And
yep. I also noticed this time she's looking at her feet in the pool and her pedicure. She has little suns on her toes.
Aw.
Yeah.
Little fireballs, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they look like.
Yeah. She cracks her head hard on that pool.
That, to me, is worse than the eating people.
Yes.
Maybe not worse, but it's getting the sound. The Foley people, too much. What did they do? Like smash a watermelon? Like I just can't.
It's also
horrible.
You know that like joke that it's like a Mulaney joke and it's a somebody else joke. Everybody likes to joke about how quicksand was like a childhood fear, kids in that, but not actually a problem. For me, it was cracking your head on a
diving
pool,
into the shallow end of the pool.
Yes.
And I did check to see if it said anything on the edge of the pool. And literally as she's lying there getting saved by the church guy, it says right next to her, shallow end.
So it was...
So she just dove into the shallow end and it was very clearly labeled.
Laura Lee, come on.
Because every public pool I ever swam in had no diving in certain areas,
of
like
course.
Big letters.
Yeah.
For good reason. I had that fear too, because I spent a lot of time at pools as a kid.
Yeah,
and I always was afraid of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed that she hits her head like in the same spot as Lottie's head injury.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting because they're so tied together from a couple episodes ago on. But she doesn't have a scar later in life.
No. But it is like exactly the same spot and
same
like,
spot.
Even the wound even looks the same. Like it's like a gash there, totally.
Yeah, totally. I love the shot of her looking up at the male counselor. And like theoretically she's looking at the sparkling cross, but it's like also his like tanned chest.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's very good. It's so cheesy.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, he says, she says, you saved me. And he says, no, Laura Lee, I didn't save you. He did.
He did.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
The next scene, I did something very typical of me after the past couple of years. But Laura Lee's sitting on the porch at the cabin back in 96. She's asking for a sign. And a little bird lands next to her. Mm-hmm. And yes, I did try to figure out what that bird is.
And did you?
I did. I pulled up my Merlin Bird ID app. And this is a thing that happened to me during the pandemic. I became a bird person.
That was your thing? I became a podcast producer.
I got binoculars and started walking in the woods with an app that tells me by sound what birds are.
And I got a microphone, and it's been over for both of us.
Yeah. I mean, high recommendation here for the Merlin Bird ID app, I have to say.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, it's excellent. It works with, you can take photos. This is a commercial now, but you can take photos. You can do like series of questions to figure out what bird it is. You can also ID by sound.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's my favorite part. Yeah. When you're in the woods and you hear something, but you don't know what it is, you can like do a recording and based on your location, it will tell you what it probably is.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So first I tried that, but because I'm in the Northeast, it was like, it's a blue jay. I was like, it's not a blue jay. I know what a blue jay looks like. Come on, Merlin.
Well, so and also I wouldn't be surprised if the people making the show didn't match.
Yeah, just put in a random bird noise.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then I searched by location and size and shape and color. And it's a Savannah sparrow.
Now, can I ask what location you searched by?
I just put Yukon.
Okay.
Northwest Canada.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's a Savannah sparrow. I have identified it.
Amazing.
It means absolutely nothing, but...
But now you can sleep tonight, so...
It made me happy to know. Yes. Yeah, there's nothing interesting about that bird. I just had to know what it was.
That's so funny.
Little bit of info. Lottie does come out, and they have a quick conversation on the porch after she sees the bird, and asks if things are okay. And Laura Lee says all they can do is have faith. And I noted in my notes that, like, this time, Lottie has the head injury, and Laura Lee's wearing the cross.
Fun.
It's a little bit of, like, a flip.
A flip, yeah.
You know? It also made me think of that Mark Maron bit that I told you about from his latest special, where he sees the hummingbird and he thinks it's his deceased partner. And he's like, Lynn, you're a bird. Of course you're a bird. And then then a bunch of hummingbirds show up and he's like, you brought your friends. Great bit.
That's very good.
Yeah. Yeah. But the one you're talking about.
The first appearance. I'm pretty sure it's the first appearance of the deck of cards.
It's definitely the first outright acknowledgement, pointing at it kind of situation.
No
like
queens
we may
in
have
that
seen
deck.
it before, but
yeah.
Exactly. That line is important, obviously.
Yep, no queens in that deck, So we'll just trace the these appearances of the deck and what we learn about it as we go. But so far, that's all we know. We've got a deck of cards, no queens.
No queens.
We get a great music drop in this scene as well.
Which one was it? I didn't write it down.
Oh, it's Fade Into You.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which I confess to you this time with the captions on, after all these years, I have learned the line is not strange universe. It's strange you never knew. But the way she like collapses those words together, it still doesn't sound like strange you never knew to me.
I will say that watching television with the captions on, especially with shows that have like music directors that are my age, is teaching me a lot about the music that I thought I knew from my childhood.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
This is another moment of Travis being an idiot. He's still sulking.
He's such a baby.
He's such a baby.
Like
you're better at it
anyway.
Time. Why don't you go hunt?
You go do it.
You're better anyway. So stupid.
He's such a baby, and it really is.
Yeah.
He's just not likable.
No, he's really not. It's hard because like we're supposed to gain sympathy for him later on, but he just he makes it very difficult.
Yeah, he really does. And it's like it is just Nat's care for him that makes us like care for him, and that's not.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the fact that like he lost his dad is supposed to do that too, but like they all experienced like mass trauma, death together.
Yeah, and also he seems much more bent out of shape about the fact that Nat has had sex than that his dad is dead.
Dad is dead.
So,
absolutely.
So I don't know.
Absolutely. So actually, this brings up. So the next scene we see is Nat running into Ben reading in the woods.
I love these two together. I wish we had more scenes of them bonding.
I know. It makes me think of the last episode of season 2 where she's like, I'm not a good person. And he's like trying to get her to come with him. Like they would be such a good team.
Yeah, they really would.
She could hunt. He could provide moral support and like cook maybe. I don't know. But yeah, they're joking about Misty. She's like, how did you get Misty to go?
She says dumped by Misty Quigley.
Yeah. And then this is where we find out that Ben's gay. She says that Misty isn't his type because he likes guys, and he gets real defensive. This, to me, was a much more realistic, and I think we mentioned this when we discussed season 1 the first time, but a much more realistic look of what being queer in the 90s was like, where he's like afraid for his job.
Yeah. I really like, because she says it, and I'd forgotten how the scene went, and I was a little like, oh, Nat. But she says the reason that she thinks he's gay is because he never looks at their boobs, as opposed to being like, you seem gay. It's like, I'm so used to the men in our school, but everywhere, like objectifying us, and
as
you're the only one who doesn't.
Yeah. As somebody that ran track my first 2 years of high school and had a creepy coach, like it's noticeable when it's not a creepy coach.
I was just going to say, you absolutely would have noticed.
Yeah. It's like, it's notable when they're not being creepy. This is where we first hear about Paul, the writer who wanted him to move to New York, the city, with him.
It's cool to know that we get a little bit of Paul next season.
Later on. Yeah. I also noted that Nat says here, so we're going to talk, I'm sure, more about Nat's character in this episode specifically, but she says here as a kid to Ben, if you lost him, you're afraid you'd have nothing left.
Yeah.
And that really, to me, was more pointing at Nat losing Travis.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know we talk about it a lot, and we will talk about it more at the end of this episode for sure.
When we get to 21, I think it'll,
But Nat being so much more, like, her emotional intelligence is off the charts compared to the other girls. And it is no wonder that Juliette Lewis is so frustrated with where this character goes, because she just has...
Because in 96, she still has, like, her humor and her humanity and her, like, she has a life behind her eyes that she doesn't have later on.
And all because of stupid Travis. Because of this big baby.
I know. She asks Ben if he thinks Travis is gay because the sex didn't work, and he laughs. He's like, no, that's not unusual.
He's like very sweet about it, but a little awkward. It's like this scene feels really real between the two of them in a way that I really love them together.
Well, and next episode will be at Doomcoming, and we see them bonding again. I do love their relationship in these like early days. And he says the ominous phrase at the end, if this ever got out.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, exactly.
And though, that this is another thing with this, like the way Nat says she's not going to tell anybody, she means it.
Yeah.
Like she's
absolutely.
so she understands.
And he knows she means it too.
Exactly.
Should we talk here about the theory that got sent to you here? Was it you that was telling me this about Travis? Not Travis, about Ben and Coach Martinez?
So listener Paula sent us a message, and the thing that's funny to me about this message is it cut off, it looks like.
Yeah.
So I can only read you the beginning, but I think you'll be able to follow where it goes. And I think it's definitely worth thinking about. So, Paula, thank you for sending this. Okay, I acknowledge the crazy of it, but I have my own theory about Coach Ben's pocket full of condoms.
Jesus. Oh, Andrea.
Like pocket full of sunshine, but it's...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
We see in season 2 that Ben and Paul have broken up before the girls won the state championship. We think from body language between Coach Martinez and his wife the morning of the fight that things weren't good between the two of them. We have speculated that Travis and that's the end of the message, but I have to think that it says that Travis and Javi knew something was going on with their dad, or that Travis and Coach Martinez, that there was a rift there. And so I think where this message was going was that maybe Ben and Coach Martinez, right?
I've heard that speculation before. Not often, but I have. And I think the reason that I had heard it before was because there is a scene, I think it's in the first episode, where it's when Allie breaks her leg, and Ben says to Misty, go get whatever his first name is, I can't remember.
Right.
And but he refers to the coach by his first name, and Misty's like,
you mean Coach Martinez.
Like, Coach Martinez. And so there's like that familiarity thing there. But people are reading very, very deep into very small things, obviously, but that's kind of what we're doing.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I mean, the Coach Martinez, why he is theoretically a bad father, why the wife is mad, all that stuff and why like Travis is so angry with him is all kind of dropped, at least for now. So, maybe if we do get some stuff about when they come back next season, maybe we'll see more of that.
Right.
But
I think Ben is obviously too good for Coach Martinez, but
absolutely.
But that like workplace affairs with people that shouldn't, these things happen.
Yeah, maybe Coach Martinez has a very soft, sweet side.
Yeah, and also thinking about what comes next with like Jackie and Travis, and with like people when they're not in their wise mind will sometimes make decisions that they wouldn't normally. And we know that Ben,
broken up with.
Yeah, Ben's going through it right now.
Yeah.
Or was going through it back then.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we don't know about right now. Yeah.
Who knows?
It's possible. The next scene is Ty trying to help Van. They're all trying to walk back to the cabin with a very damaged Van with them.
Yeah. She asks to be left.
I know. They've wrapped her face in like very dirty looking fabric. It's really gross.
The fact that she and Ben and Shauna down the line, that like nobody here has died of infection
is just not possible.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have a stash of antibiotics on the island.
And I know that as we've said, Seabreeze can do wonders, but it can only do so much.
It's only one bottle.
Yeah.
How much Seabreeze do they have?
Exactly. So
like they didn't carry like, a month's worth of antiseptic face wash with them.
This lends to the purgatory or heaven or they've already died theory that infection is just not an issue here in the woods.
or supernatural in some way, you know, that the woods is keeping them alive for whatever reason, or choosing who lives and who dies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She says it's not safe, which I think is like, I mean, obviously, like, we know that animals are drawn to blood and it's, you know, she's slowing them down and all of that. But it is like something about the wording there still feels really ominous.
There's a lot of sort of confusion about like how long they were out in the woods for, because they slept out there this 2 nights, you know, and then they had to walk back. And then the group had to go find them after they came back. Right. It's like a lot of sort of funny math with the time and the distance.
Yeah.
So Ty tells them, the rest of them, to go back to the cabin and leave the 2 of them there and get help.
And then they immediately fall down.
Yeah. Yeah. They're neither of them look great right there. I forgot that there actually was evidence of a gill net in this next scene. I have been complaining, mostly to myself, but as I've watched this show, that they are being so dumb about
when they live
food
on a fucking
on a lake. Yeah. I don't know that the gill net's properly positioned. I would have to go back and watch some more episodes of Alone to remember. But it does look like the current is passing through it, which would be correct. But Travis goes to check that gill net. No fish.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes of Alone the kids, the Wisconsin
sadly, probably none.
High kids got to see before they made it out
here.
But
sadly none.
Brian from Hatchet figures out a net and spears and traps and all kinds of things, and he's like a city kid, so I'm sure they can figure it out.
I will say, I don't know how well gill nets work in like relatively stagnant lakes. I think they work better on rivers,
which that makes
because the
sense.
Current is moving fish through. But I think they work on lakes too. I'm pretending I know a lot more than I do about gill nets right now.
Fish gotta swim, so whether the current does it for that, like, you know, helps them out or not.
Yeah. But the number of people who have had unsuccessful runs with gill nets on Alone leads me to believe it's harder than we think.
I could probably figure it out. I bet I could make it work.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure I could. Jackie is down at the lake wearing her butterfly shirt.
Boy, she is on the warpath this episode.
Yeah.
She is
you can
just
see her face has changed.
Everything up for everybody.
Yeah. Very, very steely expression for the rest of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They have a conversation about what's going on with him and Nat. And at first, he's actually sympathetic here. He says he fucked things up. Right? He's taking some responsibility.
Which
in the moment
actually makes me even more annoyed, because it's like, you know, you fucked up, but you can't stop acting like a little baby.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because that's what he's doing in that first scene.
He's a teenage boy.
Yeah, right. And
that is all they're capable of doing at that age.
Right, exactly. In that scene where he's like, you go, you're better. He's like, he's punishing himself. He's not punishing her there. That comes later.
Yeah. Jackie says relationships are bullshit. We see her her cynicism really peaking.
Love these teenagers. I mean, she really has had her kind of small little world turned upside down just last night. So.
Yeah. And this is where we get the reveal. Jackie says Nat's standards are pretty low. And Travis says, cool, thanks. He does have some good lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He also gets my favorite caption, is because he says, cool, thanks. Jackie spills the beans that Nat was sleeping with Bobby Farley.
Yeah.
Or Farley. And then he leaves, and the caption is Travis splashing away. Because he's so mad.
Splashing.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's so mad.
Exactly.
That's really funny. There is a weird, like right at the end, I noticed on this captions again, I think Jackie says, I thought your dad would ... at the end of that scene.
Oh, I missed that.
And I don't know what the fuck that means. I want to go back and look at it, but I wrote it down because I was like, wait, what? Why is she bringing up his dad when they're talking about this?
Would she have thought?
I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense in the context of what they were talking about.
Would have,
I don't know. Yeah.
Told you, like,
Yeah, no, it really makes no sense.
Huh. That's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't know. But just an unexplained
unfinished
line there when we're just thinking about his dad. Yeah.
Huh.
But he comes back and immediately confronts Nat, and this is just so ugly.
This is funny though, because I remember I was like back and forth on why they included that scene with her, lying to him about how many people she'd slept with, and we talked about the chasing Amy of it all, and this is where she's like, yeah, because I knew it would hurt you, and you're a giant baby, so I lied.
Right. And I don't know that this means that she lied about how many. She just left out that it was Barley, Bobby Farley.
That's true.
I gave him a nickname.
Right.
That it was Bobby, because she does mention the other guy was a guy. She like lies about who the guy is.
She says he was older and it was pretty fucked up. Right.
Right. But
that's
that
true.
could just be she swapped out. Yeah.
That's
either way she lied.
Right.
But it might not have been about the number.
Right. But either way, it's that was before I even knew you.
Yeah.
Before I really knew me.
It's such an ugly conversation that felt so real. Mm-hmm. Like the dialogue really fits that time of life and that type of argument. Mm-hmm. She says, "Good thing you couldn't get it up. It would have been a lot harder if we actually fucked."
This is
rough.
This is such future Nat too. Like the way she talks to Kevin.
Yep.
Like Nat knows what to say to really hurt people around her, and you can see the way she kind of like is able to like separate herself from the things she's saying, because
she immediately gets defensive. Yeah.
But she doesn't. It's like she doesn't really mean. She's not. The only reason she's shaming him in that moment is because she knows shaming him will hurt him. It's not because she thinks it's something shameful.
No, she's just lashing out.
And she's really good at that. And it's like, this is one of those scenes where I'm like, oh yeah, like Juliette Lewis and Sophie Turner are playing the same character big time.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
But it's just that all Juliette Lewis has are these like hard edges. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then he goes inside and she sees Jackie and realizes that it was probably Jackie that said something. And Jackie does look, I will say to her credit, I don't think she realized what she had done. Until this.
I really don't think so either. I think she's like trying to sour things in Travis's mind because she feels bad about her own relationship.
Yeah, she's
plural,
just being bitchy.
But she doesn't realize how specifically hurtful this is going to be.
Yeah, she's just being bitchy about Nat.
Exactly.
I noticed this time, so the next scene we see is the group of them sitting on the porch and Misty and the others coming back. I like paused it this time to see what they were all doing because they're all collected together. Shauna and Lottie are both sewing.
Oh.
Which I thought was interesting because then we see them sewing up Van's face shortly after. Laura Lee's reading, I'm assuming, the plane manual. And then Misty and the Aquila... and I think is Mari also. Yeah, Mari's also with them, show up. And Laura Lee immediately jumps in and says, "Show us where to go."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's nighttime, which I thought was odd. But
yeah, I guess they were further back.
Yeah, they had to walk a ways, which was relating to my earlier point of like the time and distance thing.
Right. So Ty fires off a flare. That's how they finally find them. And then the next scene we get back here, it's the next scene is them stitching Van's face up.
This is a rough one.
My God. Even just that the hook is like a fishing hook. It's like a curved.
So those are embroidery needles.
Oh, okay. Well, what do I know?
Those curved needles they have a place in embroidery and other types of sewing. But yes, it is
but it's like thick.
Yeah, it is. It's probably not meant for faces, I would say.
I would guess it's not meant for faces.
Yeah, probably not.
This scene is brutal.
It's horrible. And Van is screaming and Ty is like holding her. Misty's backseat driving. And Aquila's doing the actual sewing.
Yeah. Again, I feel like we need to highlight this kind of thing whenever it comes up, is that like these like sort of red shirts that we were expecting to die, and that's why they were here. And we've been a little salty about how suddenly they have bigger roles in season 2. It's not, I mean, they definitely get less focused than our main characters, but they're around a lot in season 1. Like
specifically Akilah and Mari.
Yeah, they're the two I'm talking about specifically, not Baseball Cap and her friend, who we haven't seen. I don't think those actors were even cast for season 1, right? Do we see them at
Jen
all?
Jen was in the background. I definitely saw her. So it's Jen and Melissa. But Jen is the dark-haired girl, and Melissa has the blonde hair. But
and they so
I definitely
far have gotten 0
her.
lines.
Yeah. I noticed her though this time around.
Cool. That's. I mean, that's good to know. Yeah. But Akilah and Mari are here. Akilah's the one who sews up Van's face. So.
Yep. And then we get a quick shot of Laura Lee's face getting very determined all of a sudden. She's got her plan because this is getting real crazy. She's like, we got to get out of here. I got to fly a plane that's been sitting for probably a decade with, no thought as to why that could go wrong.
I thought it's really sweet. Ty tells Shauna that she fell asleep. And this comes after, just to make a note, it's like a scene or two after they have that really lovely, one of my favorite scenes of the two of them chatting in bed in 2021. So
these two scenes are definitely like connected, mirrored in the middle of the episode.
Yeah. It's like not knowing this, how they bond in 96. It's not that surprising that that Ty goes to Shauna in 2021 when things are bad. Yeah, definitely.
Ty says she let the fire die down and she must have been sleepwalking. And so that's the sort of official explanation for what happened.
Right.
Which leaves out, obviously, why she's holding the bone when she's up the tree.
Right.
She said she's the reason Van went and got hurt, that she's scared to go to sleep.
And it seems to be her first, like, out loud admission of sleepwalking in general, because when Lottie asks her, were you eating dirt last night?
Yeah.
Ty's like, it seems like she has no memory of it. So
yeah, she says stop saying crazy things or something like that.
She says, I don't have time for crazy.
Yeah. Exactly. The next morning, the girls are all asleep on the floor. The door's wide open for some reason. Laura Lee's awake in her nightgown, which that nightgown, I think, is the same nightgown. Maybe it looks like it that we see Pit Girl running in. I think there's been some conversation about how like they're adorning Pit Girl with like the things of past since deceased
right
Yellowjackets.
That makes sense.
She loudly wakes them up.
Yeah, she does. I thought that was, she's ready. She is determined.
Yep.
God, I love her so much. I'm so sad that this is it.
This is such a great send off though.
Yeah, totally.
She said she's going to take the plane and fly south. This sounds more crazy to me this time around for some reason. She doesn't know where she's going or where she's going to land the plane.
Nope.
Like
it's in God's hands.
But you got to put the plane down if you put it up.
God will
provide a runway.
When God closes a window, he opens. Everybody knows that. It's the old saying.
He puts down a runway.
Yep.
Yeah. No. She says the gas tank is full. Which I've seen lots of people talking about online, that gas that's been sitting for 10 years is not going to work properly.
Oh, I didn't know.
I didn't either. Who knows? But I would buy it either way.
Jackie does it again. She's boy. I kind of love it. I'm like a little about it,
Yeah. Well, because it's righteous anger this time. Like it's one thing when she's being bitchy for no reason and like you're like, she's a bitchy teenager. But this is like she has a right to be pissed.
Yeah. Totally.
Like everybody's like lying. Well, not everybody, but her best friend is lying to her.
Yeah, her best friend and her boyfriend. And it's a huge lie. So she makes Shauna tell. And then Akilah says, you were having sex?
Yeah. Yeah, they wonder for a second if it happened there. And it's like, no.
Laura Lee says she's going. She drops an F-bomb. Coach, this is a big moment for Coach because he tries to... He tries to put his foot down. Is that insensitive? And he says...
He can't because he only has one.
He's only got the one down. It's always down. But he says, I'm still the only adult here, so no.
Yeah.
And it's
does not work anymore.
No. And you can, I mean, the fact that it's Laura Lee too.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, what are you going to do to stop me? And this is when it's like, yeah, coach, you are not.
Nope. Not in charge anymore.
No. Sorry. And boy, when we see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is definitely that first, like, doesn't matter what you say anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You're the adult, but that does not matter here.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we see Shauna wandering around with an axe, just hacking at stuff angrily.
Don't you kind of wish when you were angry you could just...
You had an axe?
Yeah, just hack away at stuff?
Yes. Yes,
I
do.
That would be really, really good. What's the word I want?
Like therapy?
Yeah, but like a really good way to express your anger.
Yeah.
I might get an axe.
I've definitely accidentally ended up on like lumberjack TikTok a couple of times. It looks really fun.
I'll bet.
And difficult, but it looks really fun. And then Jackie has that really cutting line. Shauna says, did you really have to tell anyone? And Jackie says, it's not really the time to be keeping secrets, Shauna.
So good.
Tone of voice.
Man, I love Jackie. I really love Jackie. I'm sorry. She is so funny.
Too. Ever since I watched the first season for like the second time, I was on board with Jackie.
Yeah.
And then
oh boy.
Yeah. And this, even though we're doing this now, this is the final, the end of this scene is the final scene in the episode. For good reason.
Everyone says goodbye to Laura Lee.
They all hug her. She has a special hug for Lottie at the end.
They set this up so well. Like, you really think, maybe not that she's going to get them rescued, but that, like, Laura Lee's going off into the wild blue yonder, and...
Yeah, she's playing hero. Yeah, it's so... The light is very, like, golden.
Mm-hmm.
She says... Ben asks her one more time not to go, and she says it's her purpose. Puts down Leonard next to her in the seat.
It's just you and me now, Leonard.
Yep. The plane sputters to life. Everyone's yelling as she taxis. They follow her towards the lake. She has that nice little Back to the Future reference.
I love that. Just like Back to the Future, remember?
Yeah. Got to get to 55 before we take off.
She says we're really going to save them.
Yeah. No, you're not.
No.
No, you're not.
I think something important to note before we get into just the best scene in this whole series is we don't see, there's been so much talk about where the fire comes from and how it happens, and this is the biggest, is it supernatural or not things. We don't see how that, it like bursts into flames, but we don't see it. The camera is up too high.
I have read, though, that type of plane, specifically, the fuel tank is under the passenger seat.
And I just read that type of plane, everything is in the nose. So it's like...
Okay, yeah, so who the fuck knows?
I don't know who I trust on the internet.
Yeah, I don't either.
And it also, like, what we don't see it, we see the flames, we see Leonard, but the seat underneath him isn't engulfed in flames. So even if the fuel tank were burning underneath, it still would have had to go through the seat to get to him.
Yeah. Yeah, the way it's filmed is purposely ambiguous, I think.
But it's also important to remember that we talk a lot about like who these scenes are focalized through and how we're getting it told to us. And the only people who were there for this were Laura Lee and Leonard. Right. So it's so
and we
hard
can't
to
see
say.
what Leonard thinks of this moment. He's not
gone.
sharing it with us.
That's right.
Yeah.
So who knows?
And I think he only has one eye also.
I think that's right. Is that a Breaking Bad reference?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think he only has one eye. Laura Lee starts coughing. She grabs her cross. Jackie's the one that points out that there's smoke coming out of the plane. And then the most, like, starkly, sort of fake-looking, but really dramatic, surprising plane explosion.
It's so funny. It is so over. It's just an immediate fireball.
Immediate.
I just to remind everybody, I was in a deep COVID fever. I was so sick. Like,
yeah, that's right.
I've had COVID twice since then.
Yeah.
And that was by far the worst that I had it. I was so sick.
Yeah.
And it was like the first moment of real joy I had felt in days. Like,
yeah, I was not sick and I still laughed.
Funny. It's so funny.
It's hilarious. It's just so stark. Like in that perfect spot over the lake in between the mountains, just boom.
And especially because you really do think that she's doing it. They said it couldn't be done, but look at her go.
She's flying.
And then
it's like you think she might crash, but like you don't think it's going to explode midair.
Yeah, what you think you're about to watch is that plane go down and all of them scream and go running toward it, and it's going to be very. Yeah. But nope, that plane just disintegrates. It is
boom
gone.
Yeah,
it's so dark. It's so funny.
And Lottie assumes her spot in the lake, about waist deep in the water, screaming. Mm-hmm. That same spot we keep seeing her.
I read a quote on, I think it was just the Yellowjackets like fan wiki. The show's visual effects supervisors described the plane explosion scene in this episode as their most challenging of the series due to concern about it possibly coming across as comical or unrealistic, if not done right.
I hate to break it to you.
As normally planes don't explode in that manner. They were, however, quite satisfied with the final result.
Well, that's good for them.
I'm also quite satisfied with the final result.
Yeah, I am too. I enjoyed it very much.
So good.
I enjoyed it very much.
Just a real highlight in a show that's full of these little like I wanted to say popcorn moment of the joy where you're just like, that's so I'm so glad I'm here right now. Yeah. This is one of them. This is maybe the one of those. Yeah, there's a lot of like moments where Yellowjackets has to pull from other genres, like the heist movie genre where they're chasing Jeff through the warehouse. This is like, the sort of dramatic plane crash, lost thing happening in the beginning. But that explosion is very sort of like pulled from, I don't know. It feels like it's pulled from a different type of genre of movie or TV. Yeah. Like that's why it's so surprising also. Yeah, you're so right. Huh.
Yeah.
Man, do I love it though.
It's so great. It's so great. And it also is sort of that like, because it's not actually great effects, sorry to the special effects team at Yellowjackets, but it does look pretty fake. In some ways that actually references like 90s movies also.
Yeah, totally.
Before we had like really great CGI that to me still looks fake, but looks less fake.
Right. Oh, there's a cool article that is only tangentially related to this, but we spent a lot of time talking about the effects here. And I learned about it on Brain Candy. They covered this article from October of last year by Lane Brown. I'll link to it. It's called Terrible Fire. Why do some of the most expensively made movies in history have trouble depicting a simple flame? And apparently it has a lot to do with our brains and how we recognize patterns and stuff, and the fact that
interesting.
Fire doesn't actually have any kind of like internal logic to how it, I mean, I guess it does to some extent, but like, you just can't replicate that. But it talks a lot about the fact that like there's a time period, like you just said, CGI fire was bad. It's gotten better. But before that, fire had to be done sort of like in camera and as a practical effect. And it's the movie Backdraft, which Ron Howard talks about. They had like actual like firefighters and stuff on the set, and they were using gas burners and stuff, and it still looks pretty good.
I remember that movie actually, and I remember them talking about the effects when that movie came out.
It's really kind of still known for that. And
it was super intense. The way that movie looked, I remember feeling like, as somebody with a sort of irrational fear of fire from her childhood,
right,
and also someone who liked to light things on fire, which I don't know where that came from. But
what do you mean of being a child in the 90s and or a child in New Jersey? I feel like we all. I absolutely. I can like feel the heart stop moment where you think maybe you've set something on fire that's going to get out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, this quote. After a while, they start asking, how long does it take to reset the set after a take when you're using real fire? And with fire, there isn't much of a reset. The set is gone.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that we've gone, just practical sense that they've gone to digital fire. And when that's the case, it's going to look, it's just something they haven't perfected yet.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, especially on like a TV budget. And not like a high-priced movie budget.
Exactly. So
yeah,
but it really, whether they wanted it to look the way it does or not, it doesn't matter because the effect is so good. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. Also, side note: Hollywood needs to pay its VFX artists more and give them more job security.
Totally.
They need to be unionized. They do not get paid enough, and they have no job security.
Which I know is the case for so many people working in Hollywood. So it's unsurprising.
But like, if you think about the visual contribution to film that CGI and VFX artists have done in the last couple decades.
Totally.
How significant that is to the experience of going to the movies is not commensurate with their lifestyle and the paychecks of those people. Nobody cares, but that's my little labor rant for the day.
This is such a ADHD brain. But if you're into the visual effects and like specifically lighting and stuff in movies, an episode of Beautiful Anonymous, a live episode we recorded, I think it was the most recent live episode that we recorded. Maybe that part might not be true, but it's called Snoop Dogg Stole My Xbox. And the call is with somebody who works in visual effects, specifically in lighting. It's really fun.
I just remembered that was such a good one.
Yeah, it's really fun.
The person talked about like things they sneak in sometimes.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah, that was really good.
So check that out.
2021.
Yeah.
Oh, Shauna. Naive, sweet Shauna.
I love this 2021.
It's just so like... We keep talking about how Shauna is so bad at this, but she's so bad at this.
Yeah.
She like has no common sense and she thinks she's really smart.
Well, Adam really fucks up here too.
Yes.
Like, guys, come on.
Yeah. No, falling asleep in the house of the person who is cheating on her husband with you and then like choking around as you're trying to sneak out and then leaving your license in the living room. Like, come on. They're both really dumb.
But it's really bad. But yeah, Callie finds Adam's wallet.
Yeah.
And then
Shauna does look actually apologetic for a moment. She gets a little teary-eyed. Then...
I don't know though. We see her. That is certainly how I felt the first time through. Yeah. Seeing the way Shauna can sort of turn it on and off, or the way that we're not sure if that's what she's doing. Like when we see her in the interrogation in season 2, where she breaks down and like we go back and forth on how much of that is real or not. I think this is another instance here where it's like, maybe it is real, but she's hoping that showing it to Callie will get her some sympathy.
Yeah, totally.
But she is a bad mom and says, let's not act like your dad is an innocent victim, which is like, Shauna, come on.
I know. This is a teenager you're talking to.
It's really bad.
It's really bad. Yeah. She's like, inventory database. Come on. It's like, you're not talking to your friend. You're talking to your child.
You can't do that.
No. And Callie's right.
Yeah. Callie's
You don't
totally
know anything
right.
about this guy. He has no website, no Instagram.
It is.
He never took my professional practices class because he would know. You got to have a presence.
Of course.
You're never going to get hired. No one's going to trust you.
How did this show... How does this show now think that we can pretend like they weren't setting
fucking
him
with
up?
us?
Yeah.
I know. It's true. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing.
Our listeners might be tired of hearing me go back to that well over and over again, but I was so on the other side of it last time that it's just
they were
crazy.
Totally they took the con of us, the Adam Adam being like involved in the blackmail, involved in all of that. They took it so far.
Yeah, and I really think
did.
They weren't. My less generous read is that was the plan. They weren't expecting us to figure it out so quickly, even though they made it so obvious. And then now they've pivoted and are pretending like that wasn't the case. You know what I mean? I don't know. Again, that's not the most generous way to look at it, but I just have a hard time thinking that all they were doing was leaving it open for the potential.
Yeah.
I
know.
This was fully the intention early on.
It certainly feels like they're laying so much groundwork for something that never happens.
Maybe not necessarily that Adam is Javi.
No, but that he is
something.
Yeah, some sort of secret,
But after last week, even the Adam Javi thing is really hard to ignore. But anyway, it doesn't matter now because he's dead.
He's dead. They're both dead.
Yeah. No.
Definitely not Javi, because Javi never made it, but they're both dead now. Shauna calls the registrar at Pratt and asks...
Sandra Norberg calls the registrar at Pratt.
Sorry.
Jody.
Sandra Norberg. Again, she's bad at this. She's so bad at this. Also, no registrar is going to give out details of a former student over the phone.
Yeah.
You have to submit a transcript request. The student does.
You can't just give... It was my favorite thing, was how little information you can give without students' consent. That was my favorite thing to tell helicopter parents.
Yep.
FERPA, so sorry. Would love to. Can't do it.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
So sorry. Bye-bye.
People have to release their own transcripts.
That's right. Your child is an adult.
Yeah.
God bless FERPA.
Yes. But no record of Adam.
What's your take on, do you have a take on UConn's MFA program?
Oh, it's actually great. I have a couple of friends that have done it. It is one of the few fully funded MFA programs in the country. They only accept about 5 students a year, but if you get in, it is free. You get teaching assistantships. It's great. I actually know someone who teaches in the photography. You asked.
No,
I know someone
serious.
who teaches in the photography program there. It's a great program. It's a great school. It's very supportive. You get lots of studio space. Highly recommend.
Here's what I know about it. As UConn was on my short list when I was looking at PhD work for Children's Lit. They have really great faculty there. But one of the things that really sold me on them is they have a pretty serious puppet arts.
I buy that.
They have a whole puppetry. You can get a full a graduate certificate specifically in puppet arts. Which that rules.
This also struck me more this time. Jeff comes home in a great mood with that dress for Shauna. Because
sex.
Jeff has just paid off his debt. He's gotten $50,000 from his blackmail, and now he's not in financial trouble anymore. And he's in a great mood, and he bought Shauna a weird yellow dress.
Yeah, I don't love the dress, but...
The dress is bad.
Well, and she's right that it's not her.
That yellow color does not look good on pale people. I can tell you that from experience.
Nothing about it feels like Shauna. But he says it's because she married into homecoming royalty because, the reunion's coming up.
Yeah.
Jeff. He pivots pretty quickly, though. He's like, you're going to be turning heads no matter what, which is sweet. And I think he means it. We're watching this, if you're watching this for the first time and you haven't figured out that he's actually the blackmailer, you might think he's just talking to talk because he's cheating on Shauna and he's trying. But no, he does love her, and he thought he was doing something sweet because the stress is lifted off his shoulders, even though he did it by blackmailing his wife. But well, he didn't mean to blackmail Shauna. Yeah, exactly.
His wife's friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's they do make a point of showing that the bag is from Saks to indicate that it's pricey.
Exactly.
Which is notable. And then we get a Nat scene. We shouldn't dwell on this too much, but this is definitely where I was ugh. We found the clip of Juliette Lewis at like Vulture Fest, I think, talking about the role. I think that was right prior to season 2 coming out, and talking about how the character was like de-evolving and like that it wasn't what she signed up for.
I'll drop it in here because it's
rough.
It's really rough, and it says a lot, I think, about all of the stuff we've been talking about leading up to Nat's departure. So I'll drop that here.
Can I just say something?
Please.
Natalie was really depressing to play, and she's a de-evolution. So you sort of devolve. And I didn't know that. Okay. But every one of these people up here is so beyond talented and wonderful. And this was a post-pandemic show. It was very difficult. But the show's awesome. But my character is like, ugh.
But you play her beautifully.
Yeah, you do.
I just showed up. I did the best I could. It wasn't what I expected.
Well, let me say this.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No. I would certainly by the end of the season, winter hasn't even hit. So
right.
There's more stories to tell for sure. And girl, stop. That's all I'm going to say there. I love her to death.
The worst part of that is when she says my character is, and then she doesn't even have words for her. She just like, Well, and the other thing is that because of the way they all filmed, for the most part, they're not acting together, and so they don't know what everybody else's stories are doing, and they're all doing dark stuff, but it's like they all get to do fun stuff. Like,
yeah, they don't just have dark.
Yeah, and like Ty's darkness is like cool and weird and kind of supernatural, and Misty's is really fun and like,
yep.
Again, we like,
and Shauna has a husband and a kid and a love interest.
Yeah, and people who really are like Jeff is really kind to her, even though at this point they think he's like, and she has none of that.
Nothing. And the de-evolution part is interesting. Yeah. Like, she does get, I guess, a redemption at the end of season 2, sort of, but she dies.
Right. And it seems like
it's tragic.
It's mostly there. If the thing we as a collective have kind of pieced together that this end of season 2 wasn't necessarily her intended end, and it was what they wrote for her because Juliette was so unhappy with her role on the show. That redemption only comes because she pushed for it and to leave, so who knows if all of that is true.
But this to me is where the like real full descent of Nat starts to happen in this episode. Like before this, she's got a few little bits of, I wouldn't say hope, but like purpose, I guess.
Right.
She always talks about her purpose or finding her purpose, like she did in the first episode. Her purpose is kind of gone.
Right.
And she's given up.
Right. Well, and we've been seeing her, I think the sign, right? Like we've been seeing her drinking off and on since she left rehab. Yeah. But we haven't seen her looking for drugs specifically. So that's
ordering Coke from a friend of someone.
Victor's friend. Yeah.
And then there is this is where the needle drop, the Mazzy Star comes in the 2021 timeline. Yeah, it's rough. She's rolling around on the bed. I think she smells Kevin and says like, fuck you. It's just dark.
It's really, she's just, I know we keep saying it, but she is just really, really hard to watch. It doesn't feel good.
No. And I mean, I have seen people who've had addiction issues in their lives talk about how real her portrayal feels and how hard it is to watch because of that. And of course, Julia Lewis has talked about her own struggles with addiction, and that could be why A, she's so good at playing this, and also B, why she doesn't fucking want to. Like,
right. And why it's so hard for her. Totally.
Yeah. Like, why? I mean, yeah. I do think that she's made it pretty clear if she knew the direction that the character was going to go in season 1, she wouldn't have signed on for it.
Yeah, I think
that's probably part of it.
Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah. But But thankfully, we have our comic relief in
Thank
Misty.
God for Misty
Thank
and
God
Jessica.
for Misty. Oh my God.
But also thank God for women vocalizing eerily. We get some of that here.
Yes, they're back. Yes, I wrote that down too. Yes, the eerily vocalizing women have returned. They're in Misty's basement, hanging out with Jess while she eats.
Mm-hmm.
Misty is watching a infomercial for a shake weight. Did you notice this?
I didn't, but remember shake weights?
I do. I remember the golden age of infomercials, man.
Yep.
This time I was like, what's on that TV? It's a shake weight commercial.
Shake weight. Funny.
Caligula drops some food. She tells Caligula he's being rude.
Uh-huh.
I also noticed this time, and I think I texted you this. We've talked about this basement a bunch, right? Like, why is there already a bed set up? Why is there a wheelchair down there? Why, like, all this, why? Like, this looks like a hostage room, right? But she also does have, I think, like, some trauma hoarder, like, prepper tendencies.
It's like a little doomsday prepper, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. And I don't want to necessarily associate trauma with doomsday prepping, but I do think, because the world's falling apart. But I do want to mention it in context of Misty's past, because I did notice this time, like, there's that shelf in the basement. There's a ton of juice up there. There's also huge cans, like gallon-sized cans of baby carrots. I paused this way too many times to see what was on that shelf.
I think what I have always told myself about this room is that it's probably not actually a hostage room. I think
like a safe room.
Well, no, not even that. The impression I have gotten, because she's got like a wheelchair down there and all, and her being a nurse, is that she cared for somebody in her family.
Interesting.
Who had and they were like kind of confined to one floor. Maybe. Quite possible.
Yeah.
But I think the room existed before the darker need for it. And that would explain things like the baby carrots and all, if you were feeding somebody down there.
I think that's a kind take. And not unrealistic. I mean, when we think about, like, we don't see her family ever.
Right.
Maybe she cared for an aging parent or something. That makes some sense. The phone rings on the baby cam, the nanny cam.
The natty cam.
The natty cam. And she sees her Coke delivery.
Her reaction is so funny.
I know. It's so good.
It's really good.
Yeah. Runs up the stairs, takes off, not paying enough attention to what's going on with Jess, as we find out later.
Yep. Misty busting into the hotel or to the motel room.
I love this scene.
She does all the Coke.
It's the best.
It's so funny.
Yep. He's trying to protect her. Nat says she's possessed.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, Misty's checking her pulse.
It's really good. And Nat says something about how much money. It's like $300.
$300 worth of Coke.
Misty says, "Hey, I will Venmo you."
Yep. It's so good. It's so good. This is how Nat figures out. She said, couldn't watch you destroy your life. And Nat's like, watch? Excuse me? And she immediately realizes that the owl is an Annie Cam.
Yeah. This is another double foreshadow moment, though. She says, because she's like, Coke, oh God, or was it PCP, heroin? If that was fentanyl, then I would probably be dead in a few minutes.
Yep.
So we get the
I caught
Jessica.
That this time, too.
We get the Jessica foreshadowing and the Nat foreshadowing.
Yep. I caught that this time. Yeah. She said if it was PCP, heroin, or fuck fentanyl. Yeah, exactly. She also says to Nat, you have no idea the lengths I've gone to, like, working on Travis's case. Yeah. And of course she has someone held hostage in her basement. That's part of the lengths she's gone to. Yep. That nobody knows about.
And she tells her about the bank account, all that.
Yeah, she tells her about the bank account, right. And this is what kind of gives Nat something else to look for information about. The next paragraph I wrote, Jeff and Shauna eat tater tots and some kind of meat.
They're eating tots. Yeah, it's a real, like, sometimes there are things where I'm like, oh, right, it's 2021. That's like a real 90s dinner.
It is.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I'm surprised it's not like a TV dinner.
Yeah, exactly. But
were you a TV dinner family?
I wasn't, because I grew up with my grandmother, and she was like, it was very important to her that she cooked dinner.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
TV dinners are terrible. We were a TV dinner family. You're peeling that plastic off, the like mashed potatoes.
Eaten my fair share of them as an adult with various executive function issues.
Yeah,
they're not good. It's even now, but
the old school ones on you'd like put
foil.
a TV tray up and put a TV tray in front of the TV on your next to your couch or whatever and peel that back. Oh my God. And you'd burn the shit out of your mouth. Good Lord. I don't know how I got to that, but so Ty's showing up at dinner.
Yeah.
And Shauna and Ty are pretending they haven't seen each other in 25 years.
Nice
or 20
surprise
years.
after 20 years.
Yeah. Or last week at the diner.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, this made me think, because Ty said she was canvassing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Ty lives in the same neighborhood as Shauna.
She very clearly doesn't. Ty is in a much more city-like place.
This is my, I can't let it go piece of this. Maybe she is actually running for Senate and not state Senate.
Well,
and that's why it's such a big deal. Because then she would be canvassing in in half the state, basically.
Yeah, or maybe Bart and Ashley just don't know the difference either.
Yeah.
Because
state Senate and Senate are two different things, and I think that's what I've gotten hung up on.
But because they have said state Senate, right?
They have,
they've used that phrase.
But it could mean not state Senate. It could mean there's state has 2 senators, and she's running to be one of them.
Right.
She's running to be like Cory Booker.
Yeah, that is the stakes of it. Seem to be that
exactly, and the advertising and all of that.
But they say state, and but also I don't know. I think they just haven't thought, and I don't know.
I think it's something that I am probably the only person that's stuck on, and it's really just past the time when I need to let it go.
I understand, though. Believe me.
Yeah. Jeff, I noticed, looked a little nervous here.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because
he's blackmailed them.
Right. God, there's so much going on.
I know. They go on their little walk together. Nothing like a late night suburbs walk.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Kind of missed that.
I'm sleepwalking here. She does say sleepwalking.
Yeah,
it sounds so Jersey the way she says it. It's really good.
I also noticed that as she says this is a tiny thing, but behind them at the intersection, somebody walks by with a dog.
Oh.
Yeah. Just a random person walking a dog.
You know who it is?
In the shadows. It's not Biscuit.
It's not Biscuit.
Nope. Biscuit's dead. She says she thinks it's been a couple weeks. When Sean asks how bad it is, she says Biscuit's missing. But she says that she thinks she accidentally let him out when she was sleepwalking, which, no, sorry, Ty.
Yeah, you wish.
And this is that line, you know how bad it can get.
It feels like the most real we've seen adult Ty. She really is it's really when we know how calculating adult Ty has been and can be, and how much of what she does is to get people to respond to her the way that she wants them to see her open up with Shauna so quickly and easily is really sweet and heartbreaking.
I know. She definitely seems the most comfortable just letting everything down in front of Shauna.
And that seems true for Shauna too. And we know that they were their biggest secrets, the two of them were, they confided in each other first out in the wilderness. Yeah. So it's not surprising, but it's really lovely and sad.
And then, Shauna offers for her to stay there. She says Callie isn't there. She's at Alana's. Why is Callie always at Alana's house? And who the fuck is Alana? Well, we met Alana next season.
But I think we all thought there was something more going on
But Callie was just there at dinner. She must have left right after dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, she's never home. I wouldn't want to hang out with these two either, though.
No, and I was never home in high school either. And I also always lied about where I was and always used the same people as my cover.
Exactly.
So I think that's why we were all suspicious. We were like, there's no Alana.
There's no Alana, please.
Come on.
Yeah.
I noted that when they were hugging in the street, they looked like two little kids. It's kind of shot from above.
So they're little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
This is, again, another one of my favorite scenes in the whole series. These two at their little slumber party.
I know.
Oh,
we need to bring back adult slumber parties. Wait, we're about to.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. See?
Amazing.
I tell so many secrets.
I know. Oh, God. It's so fun. Yeah, this is where Shauna's like, this is what I would have done. And Ty's like, this is what I would have done. And so Shauna's like, you did all those things, Ty. But she says none of it felt real.
Which, again, if we're putting pins in the things that are leading people to think there's more going on to the show than we've seen so far, that's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah. And it also, just as easily, could be dissociation from trauma.
Exactly.
Of
the
course.
way she lands on the word real, like, even in the captions, there's an ellipsis. Like, they really want you to, like...
Yeah. Hold on to it.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think I noticed this the first couple of times, but it says she was going to go to Howard, double major in history and philosophy, pre-law, first string on the soccer team. So she came back and played soccer again.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
No. I wonder if she broke any more legs.
I wouldn't... You would never see me playing soccer again. My house would not be full of wilderness decor.
Plants.
Like, these people make no sense. But she really put her head down and came home and just did she was like, I'm not going to let what happened in the wilderness affect my life afterward. And we see where this gets her.
Right. I also noticed, you brought up the decor. In this episode, there's a couple of things that really popped out at me that I've noticed before, but I was like, oh, in Shauna's house, I think in the dinner scene, there is a mountain painting that looks exactly like the lake scene. And
why would you?
I don't know. But then in Ty's house, Ty has two very creepy drawings on the wall of her living room when they're making the posters for Biscuit in a little bit. That one of them looks like the man with no eyes.
What are we doing? What are these people doing?
I don't know. I took a picture of it because I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Y'all need so much therapy. So much.
So much.
No wonder your kid's such a creep. You've got him looking at stuff like that all the time.
Exactly.
Shauna says she would have fallen in love with a mime in France. Then the next scene, Nat has a full face. It's a face mask, but she's dressed up like a mime.
I had never noticed that until you said that.
Again, I know there's nothing being communicated here. It was just so funny to me that, like, because I'm always watching now for what happens, in the transitions.
Yeah.
And this one, Shauna says mime and Nat is a mime.
It's so funny. Also, the idea of Shauna wanting to date a mime is just ridiculous. It's so silly.
She's so silly. She really is so silly. She's just like a silly, like, for all of her darkness and all, some of the stuff she does is just...
I know. I almost want to, like, skip over this next scene just because it's so heartrending. Nat is calling the bank, trying to get Travis's info, and she can't get it, obviously. This bank employee has more respect for rules than the registrar at Pratt.
Uh-huh.
And she trashes the room.
Yeah, Juliette Lewis gives a performance here. Like, she is acting her little heart out, and it is. Yeah. Like you said, it might almost be like respectful to her to skip over it, but she is just so good at the, like, weird little line delivery when she notices the coke on the carpet, and it is so... I hate watching her scoop it all up. It's like so pathetic, and it really... But the way she says, "Why, yes, it is." It's like, that line delivery is wild, and it's so funny, and it's so...
And she's just screamed the words, "Do you believe in love?" Like, oh my God.
Talk to your fucking manager. Do you believe it? Like, it's... The levels in this scene are just unbelievable. She is something else.
If you've never been emotionally unstable enough that you've screamed about... at or about a customer service rep who's not helping you, like, congratulations.
Yeah, you're living a better life. Exactly.
Than I have. Yeah. Misty comes home, and Jess has made a play. Yeah. She's lured the bird. Lured the bird.
Lured the bird.
She lured the bird with whatever she was eating, which maybe was an omelet or something.
Yeah, who knows?
And threatens to kill it.
She calls him her little boyfriend.
Oh my God. I know. Missy tries to play it cool.
It's so funny.
I'll get another one.
It's so good. The way she shrieks when Jessica... Like,
also, what is she throwing at Jessica that is making a huge dent in the wall?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I don't know.
It's like a very unripe avocado or something. Like,
I don't know.
She's taking it out of the fruit bowl. The reason I ask is because, like, maybe she's one of those people that has, like, wooden fruit in the fruit bowl.
Oh, Yeah, I could see that.
She does have like a grandma vibe in her house. Maybe she has like wooden fruit.
I could see that.
So she throws them at Jess, who lets go of the bird, and the bird flies upstairs immediately.
Mm-hmm. And Missy's like her like trying to explain to Caligula.
I know.
She didn't mean it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a those African gray parrots or whatever, they're very smart.
They're so smart.
You probably would need to apologize to it.
I lived
to be
with
honest.
one for a couple of years, and it wasn't my bird, but it was frightening how smart that thing was.
Yeah, and they live forever. I would never, ever, 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 ever have a bird.
No,
they just live too long, and they're too smart.
Exactly.
And then Misty is like actually upset, and Jess is like, "Whoa, something cracked."
It's so funny. I know that mostly what Jessica's doing is trying to protect herself, and she is maybe realizing that this is the approach. But she does seem kind of like, like I didn't know you had that in you. Are you okay? I didn't know. I didn't know there was any real humanity in there.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it could be, if we didn't know what happens after, it could be seen as like a sweet, like, moment of care. Yeah. Where she's like, asked if she's okay. Misty says she's just having one of those days.
She's so good in this scene too. Like, I love her delivery of that. And the way she says, like, are you hungry? I'm hungry. Yeah. I'm going to go make us something to eat. It's like very sweet.
And it doesn't feel calculated, which most of her conversation has with Jess.
She's had a tough day.
Well, her one friend is kind of falling apart.
Mm-hmm. And then she did a bunch of coke, and then someone tried to kill her bird. Like, it's been a bad day. Yeah,
it's a rough day. Back to Ty and Shauna at their slumber party.
God, I love it so much.
And Shauna's talking about the affair.
Ty turns into such a teenager. She's like hiding her face in her hands.
I know, it's so cute.
It's really cute. If you say
it's more teenager than Teen Ty is.
Totally.
Yeah, it's very playful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you say Randy Walsh, I'm going to burn this fucking town down.
So funny. They do the whole, Ty admits that she doesn't feel it with Simone, and clearly Shauna doesn't feel it with Jeff, and all of that. And Ty says, it wasn't any good for me. Shauna says she gets it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cetera, and then the next scene that we get of Shauna, she's showing up at Adam's apartment. It's like, yeah, no, this isn't good for you, you idiot.
Yeah. She's really trying to give him the third degree. They're both so obvious here. It's so obvious that he's lying. It's so obvious that she's digging. Like, they're just, neither one of them are equipped to be keeping secrets from anyone.
I do love the little homages to like New York and North Jersey with the little coffee cups.
The coffee cups.
The classic cups.
Totally.
Yeah. I noticed that as he should, as an artist, he has like a table with a base of a sewing table and like a metal cabinet with lots of tiny drawers.
Right.
Very much appreciate that. Love a tiny drawer.
Yeah, he's definitely an artist. We know that part he's not lying about because we're about to see so much of his work.
Yeah. Yeah, he has some canvases in there too, but they're turned to face the wall.
Because they're probably also of Shauna.
Exactly. He's like scrambling to clean up.
I think he's is all of this so specific when she starts asking him questions and he's talking about his one older brother? Javi also one older brother. But then he says he's a colorectal surgeon, which, like, if at this point Javi is still alive, right? We know he's dead now, but for the show when they were writing this, it would be so funny to lie and try to like throw Shauna off by not saying his older brother is Travis, but instead that he's a colorectal surgeon with a book called Anus is really would be a real funny drag.
In Ann Arbor, Michigan.
But
he says he grew up outside of Houston.
But I do think it's not, because I got sidetracked with the point I was actually trying to make, which is the specificity of this supposed to convince us that he is telling the truth, or that he's really thought up a cover story? Because that's like what they always say, right? Like, a good liar, you have to get really specific.
Yeah.
And it could go either way.
Yeah. I mean, I always read it as all of these things can be true and he can still be a crazy stalker, which is sort of where I come down on Adam. It's I don't buy the line of the showrunners about their own show, which is just that he's a guy that fell for her. I think that obviously we find out shortly next episode that he has the books and stuff about the Yellowjackets. But I think to me, it feels like the rest of that stuff is true. Like it comes very easily to him.
Yeah.
But then he does something fully insane. Like fully. Because we know he knows now.
At this point, whether he did before or not, at this point, he knows Sean is the Yellowjacket.
Yeah.
And Jody.
Yeah,
what?
This is nuts.
Can you imagine?
No. Let's go to a cabin in the woods.
Well, okay. Put some respect on its name. In the Poconos.
In the Poconos. Is it Mount Airy Lodge? All you have to bring is your love of everything.
Then your decades of childhood trauma that you've refused to process so far. Yeah, I've got this friend who's got a cabin in the woods in the Poconos. What?
To me, in that moment, I was like, wait, is he trying to test her? Like what?
Right.
You know? I don't know what that would prove.
Right.
Like,
and
he knows who she is.
He knows who she is. And also, like, he should know. Like, she says, like, how do I explain that? And he says, I don't give a shit, which is like, but you know she can't. Although she thinks she's going. Like, there's, she
starts packing a bag.
Yeah. A lot going on there.
We get a quick Nat detour. She goes to an NA meeting.
And for a second, you're like, oh, thank God. Good for you, Nat. Like, there's still part of you that's trying to... No.
She goes into the NA meeting.
Chelsea Morning is a Joni Mitchell song. What else is it? Yeah. Because they're like, to the Chelsea Morning, whatever.
Chelsea Morning group. Yeah. So, like...
I don't know enough about NA to know, like... Yeah. Do they...
So 12-step meetings generally you'd refer to as like the place and then
that's what I was
the time of day. So I wrote down like, is this New York? Because Chelsea, but it could just be like the name of a school, church, whatever. I mean, those meetings are often in like church basements.
Yeah, that was my thought, is that I thought it was weird that it got a name. Like I was like, Chelsea Morning, is that a place in Jersey? But the naming convention would be like the Newark Morning or the
like
Blackwood evening meeting,
the Hohokus afternoon, women's meeting or something.
Gotcha. Well, Chelsea Morning is a Joni Mitchell song, so I thought that was interesting.
It does look like they're in some sort of classroom or church basement. And a small thing, but man, what's her name? Suze. I appreciate her purse cookies. As someone who was raised going to meetings with her parents, this is not a big secret of my life. My parents met in AA. Not that you should bring 5-year-olds to meetings, trust me. I'll talk about that sometime. But I always took cookies with me. And I respect Suze and her purse cookies.
Right. Good for her.
Yeah, wrap them in a napkin, throw them in your purse, bring them to the coffee shop so you don't have to buy $4 cookies.
Yeah, now you got a little purse snack. I love that.
It's the best. She's practical.
She's another one making the most of her screen time in this episode, man. This actor, she is really going for it. I love
her.
Yeah.
I love her. Yeah. Nat, when she sees her, says, I promise I won't assault you again.
Jesus, Nat.
They haven't seen each other in 10 years. And this is another one where you think still that maybe Nat is just trying to get some help because she's like getting emotional talking about Travis. And then, of course, it flips.
Right. And
she brings up the bank.
She wants the info because she knows she works at the bank. There's a lot of like, what information are people willing to part with for other people in this episode?
Yeah. Yeah.
Suze tries to be professional here. She tries.
She does. Until she gets threatened.
Right. I mean, yeah, not a cool thing you were doing, Suze. I know addiction makes people do things that they wouldn't necessarily, but yeah, it's
selling info to identity thieves.
Where do you even find identity thieves to sell info?
I was wondering that myself. Like,
Suze knows.
Yeah. Is that part of that whole dark web thing?
It's probably the dark web
that I don't understand.
I'll bet it's on the dark web
as a concept.
Yeah.
Like, is it a place?
Yeah, it's a different. You have to open a different.
Yeah, is it
browser.
like only on Mozilla or something?
Yeah, you
like
gotta
Firefox?
go Mozilla file open
dark web
tab, and
right.
then you're
incognito mode.
You're right, dark web.
Yeah. Okay.
Now you know.
Now I know. This is the scene where I noticed the creepy art again. Ty comes home. They're making posters for Biscuit. Ugh.
Art in this house is not right. Like when they're
It's not
freaking
right in
out
any of their houses
early on about the pictures, or maybe it's later actually, maybe it's both, but Sam's artwork, and it's like he doesn't even need to be troubled. He could just be recreating what's on the walls in this fucking house.
Exactly.
Those pictures you just showed me are horrifying.
They're horrifying. Yeah. No, they're fucking terrible.
They are
Ty
making posters for a dead dog.
I know. Ty and Simone have a private chat, and it's like it's sweet, and then all of a sudden it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, she does at least. She tries. She does open up. She tells her the truth.
Some of it.
As much as she thinks she. Right. She doesn't talk about the paint and all of that.
Yeah.
But Simone is very sweet immediately and says it's okay. And then when Ty's telling her to push her away. And it's so funny because it's like, Simone, you are just in such a different world than Ty that you're hearing this and you're like, we'll get you a sleep study. And Ty's like, you don't know what happens when I sleepwalk.
Right.
I ate at least one person's face, maybe two, in my younger years.
That would be a wild sleep study. Can you imagine being the tech?
No.
I had a friend who was when she was in nursing school, her job was working as a tech for sleep studies.
Whoa.
Can you imagine the person just wakes up and like starts trying to eat people?
And we've seen the way Ty wakes up. I don't think we've seen it yet in this, but we do see it in the series, how she just kind of like, it's like kind of vampiric. Like, I feel like, could you imagine just watching somebody sleeping and then she just like rises?
You're like a nursing student trying to do your homework while the person sleeps with all the machines on them.
And then suddenly Ty is like...
Yeah. She's just standing next to you looking at you.
With that look she gets on her face?
Yeah.
Good Lord. No, thank you. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I quit.
Oh, God. Yeah. So she tells Simone to take Sammy and go stay at her mom's house.
Yeah, and that's really helpful for us because it means Ty can really focus on doing her bullshit Yellowjackets shenanigans and doesn't have to get approval from her wife and kid. So that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, so then we get the last scene in 2021.
Yeah. So
the big reveal.
But, well...
Glitter closet.
Yeah. Shauna's gonna go. Do you think she's gonna tell Jeff that the book club is going on vacation?
It's a book retreat. They're gonna go read all the books and talk about them.
Well, hold on now,
in
Jody.
the Poconos.
Well, hold on. That sounds amazing.
Lovely.
I would love to go on a book retreat in the Poconos.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Wow. Now I want to go on a book retreat in the Poconos.
Read all the books about the girl in the train window. Talk about them.
North Jersey, if you were going to go away to the woods, would it be the Poconos or would it be like somewhere
most likely
in New
Hudson
York?
Valley.
Okay, that was my
most likely Hudson Valley.
I do think Central Jersey, Poconos are a pretty good. They're not really that far.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. And we did go to, like, I have been to the Poconos, but we absolutely spent more time going to upstate New York. And by upstate, everyone from actual upstate New York hates hearing that because it's not upstate, but the Hudson Valley, basically. Like, my first camping trip was at Harriman State Park. But so she goes to pack her bag and then notices the glitter on the floor. And obviously we and Shauna immediately think Adam.
Right. We get
he
that
was just
little
in the closet.
Flashback to remind us.
Yeah. He was in his French farce in the closet. But then she opens the safe and we see the journals are missing.
Which is like, obviously it's Jeff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what any of us were doing.
We were all just assuming, though, that somehow Adam had like figured out the combination.
And that he was such a mastermind, that he was really like planning something so nefarious that like that's something
And it turns out that probably it was just Jeff needed to reference the drawing or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Which makes me, again, go back on my statement that Jeff didn't send the postcards because I don't know how I justified that for so long.
Well, again, because the show spins us in so many directions that if you're not doing this every week like we are now, you just don't have time to land on anything long enough to really, you know.
That's true. And so she goes and bangs on Adam's door again. We get the "who the fuck are you" line.
Yeah, the look, like his body language and stuff. He looks like he's going to tell her the truth. Like, you think he's going to tell, I'm saying the truth being like, he's going to have some big revelation in the next episode.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true. Like, I was watching his body language so carefully pretty much every time I've watched it, but this time knowing what's happened since, like, and he does look like
he's been caught.
Yeah. Yeah. And he has.
Right.
I mean, he knows things that he hasn't told her he knows.
Right.
And I'm sure that, at least in my head now, that's what he's feeling caught about. That he knows she's a yellow jacket and hasn't said anything.
Right.
But
Ooh,
that's where we leave off. Poor Adam.
Poor Adam. But also,
his days are numbered.
Maybe, like, relax. Like, maybe don't. Like, maybe just don't, you know? And it would have been fine. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
He didn't have to at all.
He didn't. It's true.
But he did. And so.
Yeah. But I don't think I don't think we can entirely blame him for
I don't actually think he deserves to die. Yeah, exactly.
Her propensity for knives.
Leaf.
Yeah. She does love knives. Poor Adam.
Poor Adam. Well, not quite yet, but soon. So soon.
Very soon. Yeah, exactly.
Every week we keep saying, like, things are really going to start ramping up, but these next two, oh boy.
I know. It's getting quick and intense.
Yeah, we only have two more.
Next, whew, boy.
And just as a reminder, when we finish this season, we're just going to pick right back up with season 2.
Don't
watch straight through.
We are absolutely not doing that.
Right back around to season 1, just over and over until 2025.
Nope. I will run off to the woods myself if we do that.
You've got a friend with a cabin in the woods in the Poconos?
I am the friend with a cabin in the woods, not in the Poconos, but... And I don't own it, but I pretend I do. My family has a cabin in the woods. So the description for the next episode is: you are cordially invited to the Doomcoming. On the brink of death, the Yellowjackets opt to throw one last rager before careening into oblivion. God. An increasingly paranoid Shauna struggles between keeping her cool and being Shauna.
I love that being Shauna just means killing a guy.
It's the opposite of being cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or the opposite of keeping her cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
It is a good one. I can't wait.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it for this week. Do you have, I know, like, we try to recommend, I recommended the book I've been trying to read. Not trying. I've been reading, just not as much as fast as I would like, but I recommended a book in our little feed drop the other day that's great. If you didn't listen to that, I would say check out I Love You So Much It's Killing Us Both. Shout out Jawbreaker. It's a Mariah Stovall book who lives in Jersey, I learned. So that's very cool.
Hell yeah.
You'll love that book if you like Yellowjackets. It's not like Yellowjackets at all.
Yeah.
It's just
I actually have been watching a few things. The one that I would like to recommend is very specific and not for everybody, but then again, so is Yellowjackets. It is not like Yellowjackets, although no, it's not. Well, okay. I listen to the Slate Culture Gap Fest and have been for about 10 years. And at the end of every episode, they do their recommendations. This week, I think it was Julia Turner, who also likes dance television, shows about dance, recommended something on Amazon called Dance Life. It is a 5 or 6 episode docuseries on the Brent Street Dance School in Australia. That's like the top dance school in the area. And it follows a senior class prior to their grad, and like they're trying to get agents and they're trying to like make it in dance, and there's these teachers that like love the kids but are really tough on them, and it's very like fame but like, you know, 2023 24 like Australian kids with cute accents. And like it's just so compelling.
Yeah, I love this already.
It was great. I watched it all in like 2 days. I needed like something light to, you know, and the people that you really want to succeed do. And it's real life, so that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, that's so nice. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just so sweet, and it has like some nice queer representation, and it has some nice like moments of overcoming, and it's a good vibe.
Aww.
And if you like dance, which as we all know, I love dance. It's great. It's on Amazon. Dance Life. Dumb name, great show.
That sounds really like soul feeding, you know? Like
it
nourishing.
Was. And I mean, I love watching people dance. I love dancing. I just love dance. And so to watch super talented people who are just at this like precipice in their life, where things are about to take off for them, hopefully, and see them kind of come into their own. There's one girl in the beginning who I was really worried was going to be like a sad story that stayed a sad story,
right,
and kind of got left behind, and it did not happen.
Oh, nice.
We get to see her really kill it. It's great.
Oh,
yeah, highly recommend. I enjoyed it very much.
Hell yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was a good time. So that's my recommendation for the week.
Love that.
I think I've been watching other stuff, but not enjoying it as much as that.
Well, so let's not recommend things that you don't like.
I mean, if I can't think of it right now off the top of my head, it probably wasn't that great.
Yeah, that's true. I've been rewatching Community, I guess.
Oh.
Shout out Community. It's the best.
Yeah. I love
I'd never watched season 6, so
yeah.
I think I only have one episode left. I've been kind of saving.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes of the first season again, like last year, and was just reminded of how quick it is and how smart
and just fun. It's just always looking for the most fun thing to do, and makes me very happy.
Yeah, great show.
It's absolute candy.
Yeah. Well, then where can they find us in the meantime, Andrea?
They can find us at WatchersPodNJ on Instagram. They can email us, WatchersPodNJ@gmail. I'm at AQAndreaQ.
And I am at Jody_Mim, JODIE_MIM on Instagram. And we will see you at Doomcoming.
Yeah. Which is...
Get your masks.
In the woods.
Yes. But get your masks.
Yeah. I want everybody, make your masks.
Hide your male friends.
Yeah, seriously. And we'll see you next week.
Lock yourself in the pantry.